Welcome back to the Native Marijuana Knits channel. Today I'm here to share with you my top 5 knit picks yarns. I've been promising to do this video for a long time. I'm a big fan of knit picks and their yarn, and I wanted to share some of my favorites with you. So if you are in the United States, which I believe Knit Picks primarily ships to the US, and you are interested in learning about some good quality wool yarns, I hope you will stick around. Okay, it is fall, which means at any given moment, somebody in my neighborhood is using a leaf blower. So I hope that he will stay out of the way and you won't hear him too much. All right, so Knit Picks yarns. First, this is not a sponsored video, but I am a Knit Picks affiliate. So what that means is I have not been paid to make this video. I have not been sent yarn to make the video. I have not been asked to make the video. However, if you shop through the links that are in the description box, then I will get a little bit of a kickback from any of your purchases, which is helpful for me and for supporting the channel. So thank you in advance if you decide to do that. The reason I am a Knit Picks affiliate is because I really like their yarn. That is not to say that I love every single yarn that they have. I definitely haven't even tried every single yarn. As you know, I'm not a fan of acrylic yarn, so I really haven't tried any of their 100% acrylics. I think I have tried most of their wool and or alpaca yarns. I don't love every yarn. So if you have watched the channel for a while, you'll know that I'm not a fan of Wool of the Andes, for example. But they really have a lot of good quality wool yarns at reasonable prices. So especially if you have also had a challenge finding some wool yarn at your local Joann's or Michael's, and you're looking for some place to buy something that is good quality, not super high end for the most part. They do have some luxury lines, but overall it is sort of more standard, not super fancy yarns at decent prices. So they're not the absolute lowest prices. Certainly the acrylic at your Joann's is going to be cheaper, but they are reasonable prices. They have lots of sales. Their big Black Friday stuff is going to be coming up soon, so this is a good time to shop with them. And they work for a lot of different kinds of projects. So not every yarn is good for every kind of project, but they have a bunch. They have so many lines. I didn't count, but dozens, definitely. And they definitely have a yarn for whatever it is you are working on. That doesn't mean that, every single one of the yarns is good for sweaters or anything like that, but they've got something for everybody and for every kind of project. And not just knitting, of course, crochet as well. So as I've said, I think I have probably tried most, if not all, of their wool yarns. There are a great many of them that I like. I'm not going to talk about every single one, so I have picked out 5 that I am just a really big fan of, and I'm going to share them with you today. And the nice thing is these do cover pretty much all of the different yarn weights. So that was not necessarily intentional, but as I was working through it, I was like, the only one I don't have is, and then I decided to add it. So let's start light and move up to the heavier yarns for no real reason. So in the lace weight category, I really like their Aloft. So this is kind of a standard silk mohair floofy lace weight yarn. It is 72% super kid mohair and 28% silk. So for most of these kinds of yarns, that percentage might vary a little bit, 25-75, 30-70. It's usually somewhere in that range though. So we've got 28% silk and 72% of the mohair. The price point for this, I actually wrote stuff down this time, prepared for a vlog. It's amazing. So the price point for this, it's 260 yards, and the regular price point is $9.99. As I said, they have lots of sales all the time. So I'm going to give you the regular price points for each of these yarns. But just know that, you can always wait for a sale. They've got a lot of them. I think $9.99 is a really good price point for this. The silk mohair has been so popular over the last few years, and especially if you need to buy a lot of it to hold double in a project, this is going to be a really good choice at that price point. So it is definitely not like the super softest. So just as an aside, my personal favorite silk mohair is the Knitting for Olive, which is a little bit more expensive and a little bit harder to find. This, you can just order it right online, and it is very similar. It is just not quite as soft, but it is definitely softer than some other silk mohairs that I have tried. I think Webb's has a version. I don't care for theirs. And it also generally comes in a bunch of colors that are going to kind of be easier to match with your projects. Starting it off with the lace weight, if you need silk mohair for a project, I think this is a really nice choice. It is not prickly, or it is on the low end of prickly. I find a lot of silk mohair is just naturally a little bit prickly, but it is on the lower end of that. It blooms up really nicely when it's washed, and it is very soft and wearable overall. So the Aloft lace weight is coming in at, I don't know, I mean, I guess number 5, but I'm not really ranking them by, I'm not really ranking them that way. I just, as I said, started with the lightest weight yarn, but again, especially when you have to buy a whole bunch of this stuff to hold double, this is a good choice at this price point. All right, next up, if you knit color work, you really cannot go wrong with the Knit Picks palette. This doesn't have a label. You'll just have to take my word for it that it is Knit Picks palette. So the Knit Picks palette is a fingering weight yarn. It is 231 yards, and it is only $4.99 a ball. And it comes in a bajillion colors. Now, is this the super softest yarn in the world? No. You actually don't want the super softest yarn in the world for color work, especially if you're going to have to steek it. You want something that is grippy. You want stuff that is going to kind of cling together to hold your color work. You know, if you are using a super slippery yarn and color work, it tends not to work as well. The alternate color that you're not using can tend to peek through if the yarn slips. So you want something super grippy, and you want, especially if you're steeking, something that is going to hold together well. And this is definitely a good choice for that. So the price point is really low, and I've seen it as low as $2.99 a ball, which is ridiculous at 231 yards. And the variety of colors is almost unmatched. So other popular yarns for color work are like the Shetland Spindrift or the Jamiesons of Shetland. This is softer than that. And it's also more accessible, again, because few yarn shops, especially here in the US, carry the Jamiesons or the Shetland yarn. And when they do, sometimes, you know, the colors, they go out of stock very quickly. You generally are going to have to order that online regardless. Even in the case of shops that stock the yarn, they're not going to have every single color. So most likely, if you are looking for sort of a sturdy fingering weight that is for color work, you're probably going to have to order online anyway, and Knit Picks just has so many colors. So again, it's not the super softest, but it is softer, in my opinion, than I can't remember which one I've used. If it was the Shetland Spindrift or the Jamiesons of Shetland, whatever. I've used at least one. I may have used both. This is definitely softer than that. It also is a little bit more tightly plied, which personally I like. Just it makes it just a little bit more sturdier, and it blooms up a little nicer when your finished project is done. So for color work, you really cannot beat their selection of colors and the price point for the palette yarn. All right, next up, we have a lovely tweedy yarn. Now this actually comes in 2 weights. I happen to have the DK weight here. When I went on their website, I noticed that they didn't have a lot of the heavier weight, which is the City Tweed Aran. They only had about 6 colors. I don't know if they're discontinuing that or what the deal is with that. Definitely they've had more colors in the past. So I decided better err on the side of the one that they have plenty of in stock, just in case they're discontinuing the other one. But both weights are basically the same and are very lovely. So the City Tweed DK is 55% merino wool, 25% superfine alpaca, and 20% Donegal tweed. So if you like tweedy yarns, I think this is a really nice choice. It is well plied, so they have another tweed yarn. I think they have a couple. Think they have a, but at least one of them, the provincial tweed, it is not as tightly plied as this, which is fine. You need, different yarn structures for different kinds of projects. But for me personally, generally the kinds of projects I knit, I think something that is just a little bit denser is a good choice. So this comes in a lot of really nice colors. The alpaca makes it extra soft. It does pill a little bit. So the big project that I have done in the Aran weight, and I'll put a photo in here, is my Mr. Postman sweater, which I gave to my sister. And by gave, I mean she borrowed it once and was like, "Can I keep this?" And I have trouble saying no. So, and it does pill a little bit, but it has stood up really well. And it is so soft and it is so warm. So this is just, if you like tweedy yarns, this is a really nice choice. It is the City Tweed, which is the DK weight, is 123 yards and $7. There's the leaf blower guy again, or maybe it's a lawnmower. But this comes in some really nice colors, nice ply, soft with the alpaca. I think this is a really nice choice. I'm not sure what the structure of this is. It looks maybe like a 2-ply, so it's not sort of the kind of sort of bouncy yarn you would want if you're doing like cables or something. They might come out a little flat. I also have this color as well, and overall, a nice tweedy yarn for most projects. All right, the next one that I have is, so the last two are both a worsted weight. And the first is the Simply Wool Worsted. Now this is the Simply Wool Twist. So it is two of their colors twisted together. So all of these Simply Wool colors are natural, undyed colors. So there are lots of these really nice neutral, like grays and browns and whites, natural sheep colors. And I really love this because despite it's an eco wool, so it is 218 yards at $10, $9.99, and it's 100% eco wool. I have used this for this sweater, which is a design of mine that I knit for my dad. It's named after, it's a long story. This is called Jaji. Jaji is Polish for grandpa, and that's what I called my grandfather, and that's now what my kids call my dad. So when I was making this design, I wanted it to be for men, and I made it for my dad so that he could model it. And this is in the Simply Wool. It has held up really well. I've hardly had to do, he sometimes gives me the sweater to wash it because he doesn't want to mess it up. There's really not a lot of pilling. And this is just, it's eco wool. It's not merino wool. It doesn't really say what breed it is, but it is actually really soft. Is it as soft as merino? No, but it is definitely still wearable next to the skin. So again, this is I don't even think they sell these anymore. I've had this for a while. This is a twist where they put two of their colors together. But I think they've got, I want to say like 7 or 8 of these natural neutral colors, and they all have silly names like Wordsworth and Wanda. And it's just, it has, I don't know if you can see, just a little bit of fuzz on it, which looks really nice and cozy. It knits up really nicely. It is easy to work with. It is surprisingly soft, given that it is not a merino or any known quantity of wool. The only thing I will say is that, yeah, they really don't tell you much about what this eco wool is. So for a kind of, again, this is not a super tightly plied bouncy yarn. It still has some good definition, maybe not the favorite thing that you want to use for like big cables. They might get a little bit flattened with this yarn, so it's not the roundest, but I think this is a really nice, sturdy, I don't want to say workhorse because it's softer than that, but it wears well. It's a good choice for kind of heirloom pieces that is still soft. So again, that is the Simply Wool. They also have a Simply Alpaca. I have not tried that one because I am not a big fan of 100% alpaca projects. I'm sure it's lovely and soft. The Simply Wool, and only, 10 bucks per skein. All right, and the last one I have to say I think actually is my favorite of the Knit Picks yarns. And again, this is one that comes in 2 weights, and I'm just going to tell you about this one because I have not used the other one. So this is the High Desert Worsted. There is also a High Desert Sport. There is also a High Desert Tweed, and I don't know if that's worsted or sport or if it comes in both. I have not tried that one. This is the High Desert Worsted, which I have tried. I have used it in this shawl. This is my Sisa shawl. I believe I called it a triangle scarf when I gave it to my dad for Christmas a couple years ago. This is so lovely. Now, this is at a bit of a higher price point, although I did notice when I was doing my research this morning that it is on sale right now. So if you want to try it out, this might be a good time to check it out. I just bought a bunch of this to make my Christmas sweater. It is 100% USA grown and spun yarn. It just says 100% American wool, so it's not like a breed specific yarn, but it is so squishy and bouncy, and it is so soft. So I swatched for my Christmas sweater, and I wanted to show you guys just really nice, crisp looking stitches. It's so springy and bouncy. It still has some drape. It's got, I don't know, a teeny bit of like halo coming through that maybe you can see. I just love this yarn. It was just, and when I made the shawl that I showed you, it's a brioche shawl, so it was extra squishy, but it just, I don't know, something about it. Now, as I said, this is a little bit pricier, so this is 217 yards. The regular price is $19.99 a skein. Again, they have a lot of sales. I believe some of these skeins are on sale right now. It also comes to the regular one. This one is a 100 gram, but they also sell it in a 50 gram put up. So if you need smaller amounts. So for the sweater that I am making, I needed, how many yards? What did I just say? 217 yards. So I think I needed 840 yards of my main color or something like that. But I didn't want to have to buy 5 of these. But they have the smaller put-up, so I was able to buy 1 skein of the smaller put-up, so I didn't end up, first of all, spending more money, and second, with a bunch of extra yarn to get a small amount of extra yardage that I needed. So it does go on sale quite often, and as I said, the big Black Friday deals are coming up, but this is just, it's so soft and squishy. I just love it. I don't know what the secret is, that what makes it so extra squishy and soft. I mean, it is tightly plied, so it's nice and bouncy. It's a nice round yarn, and it really just, I don't know, I just love it. You know, it's got some flexibility, but it's still like a nice crisp stitch definition. I love it. Absolutely 100%. So this one is, I think I have to say, my absolute favorite Knit Picks yarn. Again, that is the High Desert. A little bit pricier for their yarns, so definitely keep an eye out for sales and special deals. But oh, love it, love it, love it. All right, so there you have it. Those are my top 5 Knit Picks yarns. As I said, they have lots of wonderful yarns. Not every yarn is right for every project, but they have a yarn for every project. I have some other yarns of theirs that I haven't even had a chance to try yet. I've got I bought a bunch of their Comfy, which is, this one's the worsted weight. I think they have a Comfy Sport too, which is a Pima cotton acrylic that I bought for a crochet project. I've got this, which I am dying to try and just have not, so much floof, have not yet. This is their Altiplano, which is a worsted weight, and it's a 50-50 wool alpaca. This is their woolen cotton, which I started using for a project in the summer and kind of gave up. It's around here somewhere. I'll get back to it eventually. And this, just, I think is it 50-50? I can't remember. Yeah, so it's 50-50 merino cotton, but it feels like knitting with wool. It is so nice and soft. Love this. So they've got so many different yarns. whatever it is you're looking for, I bet they have it. Again, this is not a sponsored video, but if you shop through the links in the description box below, I will get a little something back, and it is greatly appreciated. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you found it interesting or useful. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to the channel. New knitting videos here every Saturday. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Medium Feather Wanna, and I will see you next time. Bye.